Welcome to this movie talk segment with me, Cody Reed, part of Movie Reedviews. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. I did do a normal, non-spoiler review recently, but I wanted to go more in depth because I couldn't really talk about it much in that review. But there's so much more else to say about this great movie. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the characters in depth, what I thought. Most of it's going to be positive. There were a few other kind of nitpicky things, but other things that kind of stood out to me that I'll also discuss. And then I'll talk about some other things for the movies also more in depth. So let's get at it. I really like the way that the movie started and how we just jumped right in it with Poe. Like, that's the first character we meet is Poe. He's meeting with that old man who's giving him that piece of information to find Luke Skywalker. Right after that, you get to meet a bunch of the other characters. You start with Poe, you meet BB-8, then you meet Kylo Ren in the First Order, followed by Finn. And so you just get to meet a lot of the characters. I really wanted more of Poe as well, because I really like that character. He seemed really fun, likable, charismatic, and I'm sure that we'll get more of him in Episode 8. I just wanted him more in this movie, but, fun character either way. And transitioning to Finn, I think he had really great relationships with both Poe and Rey. The Finn and Poe relationship was like, brothers right from the start. They seemed to have like a respect for one another. It kind of had like that, that bromance going on, and kind of like good buddies already. So I really like that relationship. And then Finn also had some great chemistry and a good relationship with Rey. It seemed like they both just kind of trusted each other. Once they get to know each other, they just had that mutual trust. And it wasn't like romantic, but it was just a great friendship chemistry between them. I'm not sure if Finn really has a connection to the Force or not, because the things he was good at, like shooting and fighting, were just because maybe he was trained from an early age to be a stormtrooper, so he might just be skilled in those things. Speaking of which, the stormtroopers were great. I'm like, oh, they could actually fight in this movie, which was nice to see. And that stormtrooper fight with Finn when he had the lightsaber, that was legit. I mentioned Rey earlier. It's good to see her using her actual Force abilities already as well. She's already coming into her own. I think she's going to be a really strong Jedi Master later on, if she's already coming into her own and already starting to develop these abilities and these skills. From a bunch of these notes I had, there were a few questions, mostly about Rey I had, but there was, who are Rey's parents? Is it Luke? Because sometimes I got that feeling, but then other times in the movie I didn't. Or it could be Han and Leia could be Rey's parents, and maybe after everything that happened with, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, maybe Luke wiped their memories, and so that way, it wouldn't go down that same path with Rey as it did with Ben Solo. And then speaking of which, is Ben Solo named after Ben Kenobi? I'm not really sure, but that's a thought that I had too. And that leads us to Kylo Ren, which I'm wearing my Kylo Ren shirt again. He's awesome. I loved when he threw hissy fits, when things didn't go his way, when they said the stormtrooper escaped with BB-8, he just takes out his lightsaber and just starts annihilating everything. And a lot of times he didn't seem really menacing when he took off the helmet and you just see his normal face from Adam Driver. But that's because he looked young. He wasn't a full adult. He looked maybe early 20s, and he's not really into his own yet. That's why he wasn't maybe the best with the lightsaber, even though he was really good. But he wasn't just super menacing all the time. Yeah, even with that, we know that he was starting to feel aspects of the light side again, so he wasn't fully dark. I also liked when someone mentioned that there was a girl that went off with them, and he kind of freaks out. So I wonder if there's a relationship there between Rey and Kylo Ren. Could be cousins, could be siblings. I guess we'll have to find out. I like both fights between Kylo Ren and Rey as well. The actual lightsaber fight at the end, how it didn't really look choreographed, even though I know it was. And keep in mind that Kylo Ren was injured during that fight, so even though it seemed that it was pretty evenly matched, this newbie fighting Kylo Ren, but I mean, come on, he was injured. But that fight was really cool to watch. And then also when he was trying to read her mind using the Force, but she was able to kind of fight back, the whole scene had tension, and you could see him kind of struggling, and then she was able to read his mind. Man, it was just very intense, that scene. And then you have the other confrontation between Han Solo and his son, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. They're out on that ledge and they're talking, and then the light that's in the room, it goes all dark. And then it's just them standing there kind of almost in complete darkness. And then he ends up killing Han Solo, but there was a lot of symbolism in that scene with the darkness. And I don't know why he has black hair, because Han or Leia didn't have black hair. So it didn't really match. That's one of the things where I was it doesn't really look like their son, but it could just be symbolism or whatever. Alright, I'm going to try to speed things up now. You also have like Han and Chewie when they first got onto the Falcon, that smirk that Han Solo had, that gave me a smile. Then you have Han and Leia. You could really feel that there was a lot of history that went on, even though they didn't explain everything. It wasn't all kicks and giggles between them, they dealt with a lot of crap. You also have BB-8. Man, it's crazy. How does that thing even move around? I'm guessing it has to be like a magnet on top, and then like it's like a motor or something that rolls. I don't know. Then you also have like Captain Phasma, who's like the Chrome Trooper, and General Hux, who's like that one guy with the long coat. They didn't really show those two, like the Chrome Trooper and the General, a lot. I'm guessing we might see them more later on, but I did want it a little more from them. And everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people were complaining about some CGI characters like Snoke, who was humongous. I was kind of worried about that at first, but then it turns out that it was just a hologram. And then you have, Maz, who, like Maz Katana or something, and I really liked her character, but I didn't really think the CGI was that bad. It was just everything else was practical effects, which were wonderful, but because of that, those two CGI characters stood out a little bit, but I didn't think they were bad, and I really liked the Maz character. This might be cheating, but there's a few other things I wanted to mention, like some really cool scenes, and so I wanted to just spit them off really quick. Like the effects in general were really good. I really like the flying scenes, especially the one where, Poe, it's like the camera's tracking him as he's shooting a bunch of the stormtroopers and getting rid of the TIE fighters. You're kind of like following him as he's doing that. It really shows his skills. You also have like the Falcon when it goes upside down, when Finn can't really use like the gun, and so it goes upside down, so that way Finn was able to like shoot the people, and then it went back up. So it showed both of their skills, both Finn and Rey, as she was trying to steer this thing. I really like that she wasn't an expert at the beginning of that too, because like she was just barely starting to pick up the Falcon, and it was an old piece of junk, as she called it, but it was kind of like skimming across the ground at times and not really like stable. So I really liked all those flying scenes. Also, there was a lot of talk about the Force, especially when Finn said, hey, to Han Solo, hey, we'll just use the Force. And he's like, that's not how it works. And the Force. Kylo Ren knows how to use it, like when he stopped that laser near the beginning of the movie, then also later on when he like freezes Rey in her tracks. I really like seeing him using all that stuff. And lastly, speaking of the Force users, Luke, at the very end, I was wanting him to come in like when they were in the woods and Kylo Ren was trying to grab the lightsaber and it flew back and Rey caught it. I really wanted it to be Luke standing there, but it wasn't. And with Luke, I realized like halfway through the movie that we weren't going to see him that much. Maybe for like the very last scene, or maybe just for a few minutes. And so when that actually happened at the end, it was almost like I was expecting it. But it was cool seeing him there, with the gray goatee and the robe. You could tell like, man, he's gone through a lot of stuff in his life, but also he's an experienced Jedi user. He looks like one too. It was definitely one of the best cliffhangers I've seen in a while. You wanted to see more. You wanted to see Luke talk, but they held it off. It's just a tease and then credits. So, great tease, but I was like, oh, show me more. So that's it. Oh, there was so much I wanted to get off my chest. Hopefully you kind of just dealt with it as I went along, but leave some comments below. Like this video if you did like all the spoiler talk that we had. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd love to hear what you thought of the movie. And also send me some emails at moviereedviews@gmail.com. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.